welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a close look into the world of film criticism.
Yeah, specifically focusing on just one review for a brand new movie.
That's right. The film is Companion, just released January 2025.
Correct. And our source for this deep dive is a review by Thomas Simpson, writing for Moviescramble.
Okay, and our mission here is really to get inside this review, right? Understand what Simpson saw in Companion.
Mm-hmm. Like, pull out the key insights, see the film through his eyes, basically.
And we need to pay attention to something he flags right at the start about spoilers and marketing.
Exactly. He kicks off the review talking about that challenge, in the social media age, trying to experience anything fresh.
It feels almost impossible sometimes, doesn't it?
It really does. Like, you have to see something the minute it drops, otherwise.
Otherwise, forget it. Someone online spoils the big twist.
Right. And that's why Simpson actually gives props to the Companion marketing team.
Because they managed to keep things under wraps.
Yeah, he feels they successfully kept audiences in the dark, which he sees as pretty rare and, honestly, quite valuable today.
So he's saying if you, the listener, manage to go in cold,
Yeah.
you might be in for a real treat.
Even if, maybe down the line, some twists might feel a bit obvious to some people once they unfold.
But the not knowing beforehand is key. The marketing, he thinks, trusts you to give it a shot because you don't have all the details.
It lets you experience it, presumably, the way it was intended.
Okay, so let's get into the film itself, according to Simpson. How does this story begin?
Well, he describes the initial setup focusing on the main couple, Josh and Iris.
Josh, played by Jack Quaid, Iris by Sophie Thatcher.
That's them, and their introduction, he paints it as very rom-com style, love at first sight.
Right, and he has a pretty specific description for that part.
He does. He calls it a large slice of fromage.
Light chuckle.
Eh?
Okay, so maybe intentionally cheesy.
It sounds like it leans into that, yeah. A bit of a cheesy meet cute to start things off.
But, as we know from the review, that vibe doesn't stick around. Things apparently sour.
Pretty quickly, it seems. The shift happens when they go off to a remote cabin for the weekend.
Ah, the remote cabin. Classic setup.
Totally. It immediately signals, the rom-com feeling is probably about to end.
And they're not alone there, are they? The review mentions other characters showing up.
Right, supporting characters who kind of inject tension right away. You've got Josh's friend, Kat. Megan Suri plays her.
Okay.
And the reviewer notes Kat has an intense dislike for Iris. So, boom, instant friction.
Okay, built-in conflict. And Kat has a boyfriend.
She does. Sergey. He's a billionaire, played by Rupert Friend.
And Simpson's take on him.
Again, pretty blunt. He calls him a lecherous scumbag.
Wow. Okay, so the setup is new-ish, maybe slightly cheesy couple. The friend who already hates one of them.
Yeah.
And this billionaire guy described pretty negatively.
Yeah, the dynamic sounds pretty charged from the moment they probably arrive.
And the review points out something about the main couple's dynamic early on, too.
Yeah, it suggests Iris seems more invested, more into Josh than maybe he is into her.
How does Simpson put it? How does Josh come across initially?
He says Josh comes off as a bit of a dick, which he contrasts with Iris's love-filled naivety. That's quite a description, isn't it?
It really is. It immediately tells you the reviewer isn't setting Josh up as your standard sympathetic hero.
Not at all. It kind of pushes your sympathy towards Iris from the start.
So, okay, we start with rom-com cheese, then move to this tense cabin situation with some, frankly, unpleasant characters and a relationship already looking a bit shaky.
Right.
And then the review says things just escalate.
Massively. This is the turning point. Simpson says things quickly escalate as true motives and identities are revealed.
So that weekend getaway doesn't just stay awkward.
No, it morphs fast into what he calls a deadly game of cat and mouse.
That's a huge leap from a large slice of fromage.
It really is.
The review mentions Drew Hancock wrote and directed. What does Simpson say about the overall tone, the themes, under Hancock's direction?
He frames it first as a disturbing tale. It's about love, morality, ethics. Sounds heavy.
Yeah, sounds like it could be quite grim.
Yeah.
But the reviewer adds a crucial detail, right?
Exactly. He immediately points out that Hancock directs it all with wicked humor.
Okay, so disturbing themes, but with a dark comedy layer.
That's the idea.
And how does that humor come across? Is it just jokes or?
Simpson says it leads to actual laugh-out-loud moments. But these laughs are apparently sprinkled alongside ultra-violent kills.
Wow.
And also tender interactions.
So big laughs, extreme violence, and genuine tenderness, all mixed together.
Seems like it. It's quite a combination. That's why the reviewer calls the whole thing a melting pot of genres that come together in beautiful chaos.
Beautiful chaos. That phrase really paints a picture, doesn't it? This blend of, well, everything.
It does. It suggests something unpredictable.
And the review highlights the performances as being really key to making this chaos work. Let's talk Sophie Thatcher as Iris.
Yeah, Simpson is really impressed with her, calls her brilliant, alluring.
Okay. He notes how she wears her heart on her sleeve, but somehow still keeps an air of mystery.
And her character arc sounds significant.
Very. He praises that journey, describing how she goes from this initial puppy dog wonder.
Right, that naivety he mentioned.
Exactly. To becoming a formidable opponent. He specifically uses the phrase, as the prey becomes the hunter.
That's a powerful shift. Prey becomes hunter.
And he says it makes her really easy to invest in, to root for, as she figures out what's really going on. That transformation sounds central.
Definitely. From innocent to, well, formidable. What about Jack Quaid as Josh? The review started off calling him a bit of dick. Does that evolve?
Simpson says the mask slowly slips for everyone involved, but especially Josh. His character's reckless entitlement, as Simpson puts it, paints him as a pitiful, but in no way sympathetic figure.
So while Iris gains strength in our investment,
Josh seems to go the other way, becoming less sympathetic, maybe even contemptible, based on that description. It sounds like those performances and how they navigate these character shifts are huge reasons the reviewer liked the film. What was his overall takeaway?
pretty positive. He sums it up as providing exhilarating entertainment with great performances and a tight script. High praise.
He also makes a comparison, doesn't he? Mentions the producer.
Yeah, points out that Zach Kreger produced Companion, and he also did Barbarian.
That's interesting. Barbarian was definitely known for pulling the rug out from under the audience, playing with expectations.
Exactly. So drawing that link suggests Companion might have a similar DNA, that willingness to subvert genres and surprise you.
And looping back to the director, Drew Hancock, what does Simpson feel Hancock wants the audience to do?
He interprets Hancock's intention as just wanting audiences to let go and enjoy the ride.
Which ties perfectly back to that opening point about the marketing, right?
Absolutely. The reviewer sees it as a cleverly marketed film, precisely because it doesn't give everything away.
It trusts its audience, he says.
Yeah, trusts them to give it a chance without needing every plot point spelled out, reinforcing that core idea. The less they know, the better.
So the marketing isn't just like a side note. It's part of the whole package, part of how you're meant to experience this ride.
That's definitely the impression from the review. It protects the surprises that seem crucial to the film's impact.
In Simpson's final verdict, his closing thoughts.
He calls it a riot from start to finish, and he adds that while it proudly showcases its influences, it still feels fresh and original.
Okay, so wrapping up our dive into Thomas Simpson's review on Moviescramble, it paints Companion not as just one thing, but this really surprising mix.
Yeah, it kicks off with that knowing rom-com cheese.
Then slam cuts into a deadly cat-and-mouse game.
Right. While juggling these heavy themes, love, morality, but doing it with dark humor and apparently quite a bit of violence.
And anchored by strong performances, especially Sophie Thatcher's big transformation.
And the whole thing is framed by this idea that the marketing deliberately holds back to make sure you, the viewer, get the full effect of its twists and turns.
It definitely sounds like a film aiming to keep you off balance, mixing scares, laughs, maybe some tenderness, and exploring identity within this beautiful chaos.
Yeah, a film designed, it seems, to genuinely surprise you, to constantly shift your expectations.
Which leads us to a final thought for you listening at home. Thinking about what the reviewer said, true identity is revealed, prey becoming hunter. What does it really mean when a film's success hinges on you having to totally rethink your first impressions of the characters?
How does a story that's built on these shifting power dynamics, these revealed secrets, make us maybe question our own judgments, how we size people up right at the start? Something to think about.